some list of values you can pass. So one partition was successfully designed. Same as if you want to create another partition, then you can go to take your partition. So partition name 2 and sending values. And after that, here I'm passing list of values like value 1, comma, value 2, comma, value 3, comma, and so on. So like this, so any number of partitions you can go to create. And finally, the other partition is called as the partition others. And you're sending values of default. You're sending values of default. Okay, so that means this other partition advantage is what now? Suppose whatever the data we inserted, those data was not there in the list of, okay, in the list. So in partition 1 list and partition 2 list, if the value was not there, okay, if the value was not there, so then those values are by default will store in others partition. By default, those values are storing under others partition. Okay, now so others values of default, and let you close. So this is your list partition syntax. And now, as per the syntax, let you come back and create your partition now. So create table. The table name is step number 2. Suppose I'm passing here course ID, integer, and course name. I'm passing varchar 2 of size. And along with this, I'm creating my partition here, partition by list. And now I'm taking on course name. So now this partition list I'm creating based on course name column-wise. Okay. Then after that, I will be prepared number of partitions. So partition P1, sending values. Now I'm sending some values here. For example, C language. Next, I have to take here, okay, C++. Next, I have to take here Java. So this is the list of values in partition P1. So C, C++, Java, these courses, the courses list or these courses will be stored under P1 partition, comma. Next, partition P2 and sending values. So in this, I'm sending now Oracle MySQL. So these are the values will be storing under partition P2, comma. Next, I'm passing here partition others. So partition others, sending values of here default. So now this is my second table. Okay, I created along with your list partition now. Now I'm going to insert guys here. So insert into test number 2, sending values of course ID 1. So course name, for example, if I'm giving here .NET. But whatever the data we are inserting guys here, whatever the course name I'm inserting .NET. But .NET is not there in the partition P1 list. Yes or no? In the partition P1 list, the .NET is not there. In the partition P2 list, .NET is not there. Okay, so P1 and P2. So in this 2 list, your .NET is not there. So when it was not there, the .NET is not there in P1 and P2. Then where it will be saved? Where it will be saved? This course information means it will be saved the course information by default. By default, where it will be saved others partition. Where it will be saved others partition. Okay, now let me see, because .NET is not there in my list of partition 1 and the list of partition P2. So .NET is not there. So when it is not there, then by default, those values are storing under others partition. Okay, fine. Now I'm going to execute it. Okay, one row is created. And after that, like some courses, I'm going to insert in here. Next, I'm passing now Oracle. One more course I'm passing, for example, C language. One more course I'm passing, for example, Java. One more I'm passing here, for example, SAP. One more course I'm passing, for example, okay, MySQL. So like this, we go to insert some courses and courses information. Courses details are I'm going to insert it. And after inserted, let you come out and call your table. Select test number 2 and to execute. So these are what now you can see in the partition P1. It was saved here C and Java. This is partition P1. And Oracle and MySQL, this was storing under partition P2. And .NET and SAP will be storing into the others partition. Okay, so let me come out and call your required partition, for example. Let us start from test number 2. Test number 2, and I'm using here partition. Okay, of suppose I'm calling here P1. When I'm calling P1, so in P1 partition, whatever the data we stored, so the data we need to filling from the table. So C and Java. In the same to same, when I come back to, if I want to take here, suppose I'm passing here others partition. In others partition, which the courses details are there means .NET and SAP. So because .NET and SAP, these courses are not there in the partition 1 list and in the partition 2 list, these courses are not available. Okay, so that's why what it was happen, guys, here. Okay, so whatever the courses are there, these courses are automatically storing the default partition. What is my default partition here? Others. So in others, it will be saved. In the same to same, when I'm going to call in here, the next one we called as the partition P2. If I'm calling, then in the partition P2, we have here Oracle and MySQL. In the partition P2, we have Oracle and MySQL. Okay, now. So this is list partitions, how to prepare on your table. Okay, so this is called as a list partition creation. Okay, right. And the next one is called as the third one. It's called as an add partition. The third one is called as what now? Add partition. So add partition in this method, what it was happening at here partition table. Okay. Yeah, partition table. Okay. Table is created by system. So your user interaction will be not there. So as partition, what it will happen, these partitions are not created by user. So just the user is sending the request to my server, and based on user request, your system automatically created by system. So partition table is created by system automatically. But user interaction, that means user no need to create the partitions. Okay, in this case, user no need to create partitions. Just we are sending the request to server, your database server. So what is your request? How many partitions you want it on your table? Okay, na? How many partitions you want it on your table? So that number of partitions that means a request you're sending to server. So as per user request, internally your system will be preparing that many partitions on your table. Okay, right. So this is called a system defined partition table, we called. As partition is called as a system defined, not user defined. Okay, right. What is the syntax for this? What is the syntax for this? So syntax is create table name as usual, and we are passing here column name 1, data type, and I'm passing here size, column name 2. Okay, so data type, and I'm passing size, comma, and so on. Then after I want to create here, so partition by hash, partition by hash, and after creating this partition by hash, so particular key column we need to mention on which column basis we have to create. So the key column we need to mention, and after that Now here, this I'm passing the number of partitions. So partitions, and here I need to pass number. So that means how many partitions you want to prepare here. That means you need it on your table. So that number of partitions you just pass here. That's it. But we are not created partitions in this level or in this method. Okay, let you come out and see. So once I just come back and see here, suppose I'm creating the table text number 3. Okay, I'm passing from here. Suppose serial number, integer, and salary was number. And now I'm passing here partition by ash. Okay, and the column is salary column. And here just I'm passing a number of partitions. Suppose I'm giving 5. That's it. So that means user is requesting to your database server. User is requesting to your database server how many partitions. Okay, we want it on this test number 3 table means 5 partitions we want it. So whatever the request was sending by user, so as per the user request, your system is created. How many partitions are created here means the user is asking how many partitions? 5 partitions. So it will be created 5 partitions now. It will be created 5 partitions now. But those partitions are created or not? Okay, how I can see it, sir? How we can see it, sir? Those partitions are created or not means. So there we have one data dictionary. The data dictionary is called as a user underscore tab underscore partitions. So user underscore tab underscore partitions. With the help of this data dictionary, you can identify or you can know that. Otherwise, you can see it on your table how many number of partitions we have it. So let me see and to execute it now. So this is your data dictionary and your partition name, we have it here. So I just take it this one. So select partition name from user underscore tab underscore partitions. Okay, so where, which table? Suppose my table is what now? Table. Table underscore name is equal to my table name is text number 3. So now we can see that text number 3. Your system is created. Your 5 partitions are not. You can check out. Yes. So now we can see the partitions names are created on test number. What is my table name? Test number 3. On test number 3, how many partitions are created by system here means total 5 partitions are created. So the sys underscore, so sys means what now? System defined. Okay, now sys means what now? System defined. Okay. So sys underscore p 121. That means 121 partition. P 122. Partition number 122. Okay, partition number 123. Partition number 124. Partition number 125. Okay, now so these are what we call as guys here the partitions, and these partitions are created by who? System. Okay, so like this you can see any table. So previously whatever we created, for example the previous table I can see, for example in my first table that's number 1. So how many partitions I created here? P1, P2 and P3 in text 1 table. Suppose I want to see in my text number 2 table how many partitions I created. So others is the default partition and P1 and P2. So like this, you can see your partitions guys here. So whenever you want to view the partitions of a particular table, you can call like this and use user underscore tab underscore partitions data dictionary. Okay, right. So this is what now at the time of table creation, these partitions are we designed. Okay, but we are asking, sir, can I create a partitions on existing table? Okay, on existing table, can I create a partitions? Means yes, of course, we can create. For example, how to create it here means observe. The next level of operation is what now? How to adding new partition to an existing table. How to adding, how to add a new partition to an existing table. So now here the syntax will be, suppose you need to add some range partition. Okay, if you need to add a range partition, then how to say alter table name, and here I'm using add keyword. So why I'm using add keyword means I'm going to adding what I'm adding here, partition. So partition, and now we can give partition name, partition name. Okay, and sending value less than of value. So this is okay, the adding of new partition. But when you see the values less than of values means this is what now range partition this is. That's or no? So suppose you need to add, suppose the list partition. If you need to add the list partition, okay, list partition, the way of mechanism is what now this is partition name, values list. So here which partition are you adding is important, guys. Table name, and you add, suppose I'm giving you a partition and later I'm sending your partition name, okay, and sending values, and here values of value 1, value 2, value 3, and so on. Okay, so this is what we call as a list partition. Okay, so which partition do you want to create? Okay, but hash partition, we can't go to altering here because at the first attempt only it will be checked out here. System is created now, so that's why we can't add it here. But range partition and your list partition, you can go to add it. Additionally, if you want to add any new partition, then you can add it based on that particular syntax was. Okay, so one example I'm showing here, observe. For example, let you come out, test one table is there. In test one table, already P1 and P2 and P3, these are the three partitions already we have. Okay, now P1, P2, and P3. These are already, we have it here. So now what I want to do, I need to add one more partition to this table. Alter table, the table name is test one, and partition P number 4. Okay, partition P number 4. Suppose I'm using values, okay, less than of some value I was given 4,000. So when I'm going to execute it here, invalid alter table. So what we are missing is here. Any spelling mistake here? Alter table now, add partition name, values less than 4,000. Values. So value spelling wrong, huh? Partition spelling wrong for that values. Okay, right. So you're spelling wrong. I just change my spelling. Add partition P4 and sending values less than of a value we are passing. So now we can see table is going to be added. Table successfully altered. After alter, this partition P4 is going to be okay added or not. Suppose if you want to see in your text one table, yes. So your P1 partition successfully added. Your P1 partition successfully added. Okay, right. This is whenever you want to add some new partition to your existing table, you can use this syntax. Okay, now so same as your list partition also you can use. Okay, that I was given the document. You just practice it. Okay, right. And the next one, how we are adding the partitions in the same to same. I can drop also. I can drop also. So how to drop a partition? Okay, from a table. How to drop a partition from a table. So what is the syntax for the dropping partition means? Okay, so alter table and table name. Okay, so here I'm using drop keyword. What I'm going to drop in here, partition, and you have to send your partition name. You have to send your partition name. So alter table name, drop partition name. Okay, that's it. Now after dropping this, let me see. So these are some partitions here. We have it now. So now I'm passing guys here alter table and table name. Suppose that's one, and drop keyword. And I'm using partition. Suppose P2 I'm dropping now. But carefully observe before you want to see this P2, whatever we are dropping now. So first of all, in the table, you can see select the start from test one table once you pick out. So if I'm dropping here P2 means the P2 data, whatever it was there, 103C, 105E. This is belongs to partition P2 data. Yes or no? Yes or no? Yeah. So this is partition P2 data. Suppose when you particular partition, whenever you drop in that partition, whatever the data was there, the data is dropping or data is deleted or not, check out. Okay, now we can check. So alter table test one drop partition P2. I just go to that. So table is altered, and let you see your partition P2 successfully dropped from your table or not. You can see. So partition P2 successfully dropped. Okay, now partition P2 successfully dropped. After dropping, let me see the table. Okay, let me see the table. Select a star from test one. What it was happening, you can see. Tell me guys here, your partition P2 data, whatever it is there. So the data is deleted. This is 103 and 105. This is partition P2 data. So after dropping your P2 partition, the data also deleted. Come on, guys. Yes. So your data also deleted. So your data also deleted. Okay. Now? So that means what you understand here, once you drop your partition, along with the partition, your data also dropping. Along with the partition, your data also dropping. That is what we call as here. Partition. When you drop, automatically in that particular partition, whatever the data is stored, the data I can drop. That means it is also dropping from your table. Okay, right. So this is how to drop your partition. And the next one is, okay, next one is, suppose in my database tab list, there are so many tables we have it here. There are so many tables we have it here. For example, I want to know it. I want to know it whether suppose EMP is one table is there in my table. EMP is one table. It was there in my database. So now I want to know, that means I want to know it, whether this table is partitioned or not. So how we can know, sir? Okay, how we knows that this table is a partition table or not? So this kind of doubt is coming out. Because in my database, so many tables are there. In so many tables, so one particular table, suppose if I want to know it, this particular table is partition table or not. Okay, if that kind of information, do you want to know it? Okay, do you want to know it? Then there, one data dictionary is there, guys. The data dictionary is called as That's user underscore tables. So user underscore tables, it is a one data dictionary. So with the help of this data dictionary, I can see it whether my table is partitioned or not. Okay. Now, for example, here one of my column is there partitioned. Partitioned. Okay, this is one of my column. Now that column I mark. Select partition from what is that data dictionary user underscore tables. Okay, user underscore tables. And now I have to send where table underscore name is equal to emp table. Name is equal to emp. So now that means I want to know it. I want to know it. This emp table is partitioned or not. Let me check out what it was telling guys here. Your emp table is partition table or not. What happened, guys? Your emp table is partition table or not? No, it is not a partition table. Okay, fine. In the same to same, suppose I want to see one more table. I want to see one more table. For example, I want to see DEPT table. So DEPT table is a partition table or not? So this table is also not a partition table. Okay. For example, just now we created test number 1 is a partition table or not? Okay. So what it was saying guys here? What it was saying here? Test 1 table is partition table. Yes or no? Yes. So it was showing test 1 table is a partition table. So now it was saying what now? Yes. It was saying what now? Yes. But the EMP table, when I check EMP table is a partition table or not, it was saying no. DEPT table is also no. But test 1 table it was showing yes. So like this, if you want to know it, whether this table is partitioned or not, if that kind of okay information, do you want to know it or do you want to know it? So then we can use a user underscore tables data dictionary. In this user underscore tables data dictionary, one of the column is called as a partitioned column. So with the help of this column, we can know it whether my table is partitioned or not. Okay, now so these are what now guys here, the partitions and how to prepare these partitions in your what we can say table. Okay, right. And the next these are the small topics guys here, and the next topic is the next one more topic in this, that is called as a sequence. Okay, next one is the sequence. So now let me see the another topic in our SQL part, sequence. Generally, what is sequence, and this sequence object, why and how we can use and how it was working. Okay, yeah. So sequence simply we called as here. It is a database object. It is a database object. Okay, now so which is used to generate sequence numbers, to generate sequence numbers. Okay, numbers on a particular column, on a particular column, on a particular column. Okay, column automatically. Okay, now so what is sequence? The sequence is nothing but it is also just like a database object. That means it is also one type of object, and this object we are going to be created, and after created this object where and which column you applied. So in that column, automatically your sequence numbers are generated. And nowadays, this kind of scenario in so many examples we can see in our day-to-day life. That's called a real life. So nowadays we can see, for example, if you want to go, nowadays everything is a computerized bills. So when you take a bill, you have a bill number. Okay, you have a bill number. So for example, there are two customers are there. The two customers are purchasing some products. Okay, purchasing some products, customer one and customer two. So when these both customers will take a bill, then what happened? Customer one having bill number 121 and customer two bill number 122. So but here one bill number 121, 122, how these bill numbers are generated means automatically it was generated by the help of a sequence facility. By the help of sequence facilities. So like invoice numbers nowadays we can see. If you're purchasing any product, some invoice numbers also generated. So, and two customers, two different invoice numbers are generated. Okay, now, so like a transaction ID numbers. Okay, like a customer order number. So these numbers are how and automatically how it was generating means with the help of a sequence mechanism or sequence facilities. So like this, the sequence object advantage is what now? So once you created your sequence object, okay, then that object will be applied on a particular column in a table. So in that column, without user interaction, that means for that column, user no need to send a value. Suppose your column is a sequence column. Your column is a sequence column. So on sequence columns, user no need to insert a value because of reason. So your system will take that responsibility, okay, to generating your sequence numbers as per user given, okay, whatever the user wanted, okay, from which number they want to start, okay, how much increment they want to give. So this kind of the representations are given by user, and based on those representations, your sequence object is applied and your system is generated. So that means here, why I'm saying automatically means here, so user interaction will not be there here. Just I'm creating and applying, that's it. But later automatically generating your sequence numbers. So that's why user interaction will not be there. Okay. So without user interference, automatically created your sequence numbers in a column. So that kind of facility we can get by using of a sequence object. Understand now? Right. So now, but these sequence object, if I want to create, then I created with some syntax here. The syntax observed, create sequence, and I want to send here sequence name. I want to send here sequence name. Okay. And along with the sequence name, we need to use some parameters here. So some sequence object parameters are there. In this first one, start with parameter, start with n. Okay. And the next parameter is called as a min value parameter n. And next one we called as a increment by n. Increment by n. And the next parameter is called as a max value n. And the next parameter is called as a no cycle or else cycle. And the next parameter is called as a no catchy or else catchy n. So these are the parameters along with your sequence object. So that means start with n, min value, increment, max value, no cycle, cycle, no cache, cache. So these are parameters, and user wish. Suppose you need to start your sequence number from 1, or else from 10, or else from 20, or else from 25, or else 101, or else 1000. So from where you want to start your sequence numbers. Okay, now so the kind of the user, okay, he want to give it as per his requirement, he can pass those values along with my parameters. Okay, now so that is advantage of sequence here. So now let me see one by one parameter, the purpose we discuss, then you will get some idea. So first one we called as a start with end parameter. So this parameter, okay, so along with this parameter and this parameter, what it was telling us means the parameter will be specified, okay, to specify, okay, starting to specify sequence, sequence number. So that means from which number onwards your sequence will be started. So that was telling by start with n. Here n is nothing but, simply remember guys, here n is nothing but what now? Number. Here n is nothing but what now? Number. Okay, now? So which number are you given? For example, suppose I'm going to pass. Start with, if I'm giving 1. Start with, I'm giving 1. When I'm giving 1 means your sequence numbers will generating. Okay, your sequence numbers will generating from 1. Okay, suppose if I'm giving 10, then your sequence number is generating from 10 number. Suppose if I'm giving 100, your sequence number is generating from 100. If I'm giving 1000, your sequence number is generating from 1000. Okay, like this, from where you want to start. That is represented by start with the parameter. Okay, now, right. For example, this is what. Next one is what we called as a min value n. Min value and what it was telling us here, it will be to specify minimum value in the sequence. So what is minimum value in the sequence? For example, suppose if I'm going to give it here, the values are there. For example, suppose 1. Suppose my sequence started with 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is what I'm thinking. The sequence numbers are generated 1, 2, 3, 4. So now if I'm asking in this set of sequence numbers, what is your minimum value? What is your minimum value means? So my minimum value is 1. Okay. So this is what. Suppose in the next level, the sequence will be like this: 10, 20, 30. So this is another number. So in this, what is my minimum value? Means 10 is a minimum value. So minimum value is represented by, okay. So in represented in your minimum value parameter is what now? What is your minimum value in the sequence? So that will be representing here. So if suppose your minimum value, if I'm giving here, okay, 1 means your minimum value 1 only. If I'm giving 10 means 10. If I'm giving 100 means 100 your minimum value. So almost start value and almost minimum value, almost both are look like a same and both are similar. Okay, both are what we can say, start with 1 and minimum value 1 if you give. So both are going to be similarly work. But one small difference is there. The difference is what now I will tell you in the next level of parameters I will explain. Okay, now. So min value and start with value, both are similar, but what is the difference in between these two parameters? Okay, then I will show you in practically observe. Okay, right. And the next one is called as a increment by n. So this parameter, what it was telling us means to specify incremental value in between sequence numbers. So a number to number, how much increment you have to give, number to number. So suppose if I'm giving here, for example, if I'm giving here, so increment by n value, suppose 1 I'm giving. What happened guys here, start with 1, minimum value 1 and increment by 1. So that means how it was generating your sequence numbers means start with value 1 and minimum value also 1. Okay, fine. Next, 1 plus 1. So increment, how much I'm giving here? 1 I was given. So that means this is one starting value, minimum value. Increment is 1. So 1 plus 1, how much guys here? 2. So 2 will be generated. 2 plus 1, 3. 3 will be generated. 3 plus 1, 4. 4 will be generated. 4 plus 1, 5. 5 will be generated. So increment. So sequence number to number. Sequence number to number. How much increment here? How much increment here? So that was telling me. For example, if I'm giving, I'm giving here increment is 5. So when I start with value 1, okay, 1 plus 5 means a 6. 6 plus 5 is 11. 11 plus 5, 16. 16 plus 5, 21. So like this, the increment value will be there. Okay. So this is increment by n. Okay, what we called as the parameter working nature. Okay. Now, so next one, max value n. So in the name only there is to specify maximum value. Okay, in the sequence. Okay, so maximum value. Suppose I'm giving here max value n is equals to, suppose 5 was given. Then what happened? Your sequence numbers are generating up to 5 only. Generating up to 5 only. So once your maximum value will be reached, then automatically your sequence will be stopped. Why? Because we are going to be given the maximum value 5 means up to your 5 numbers only generated. Suppose if I'm giving 50, then up to 50 only generated. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, like this 50. Suppose if I'm giving 500, up to 500. If I'm giving 5,000, up to 5,000. If I'm giving 50,000, up to 50,000. So this is maximum value represented. Okay, na? For example, let me see. On this 4 parameter, one small example here explain. Suppose I'm going to start here. I'm writing like this. Start with 1. Okay, min value 1. Suppose I'm giving here increment by 1. And suppose I'm giving here max value 5. So up to here my sequence is created. So whenever I was created my sequence by the help of these parameters, so start with 1, min value 1, and increment by 1, and max value 5. So that means what happened? Your sequence numbers are generated up to 5 numbers only generated. So your sequence starts with 1, and it is also minimum value. So next increment 1. So 1 plus 1, 2. So 2 plus 1, 3, and 3 plus 1, 4, and 4 plus 1, 5. But after 5, your next sequence number will not be generated. Why, sir? Why, sir? Next sequence number will not be generated means, because of reason you given. That means a user is defined maximum value. How much he was defined, guys? Here 5 only. So how much you define your maximum value at the time of sequence object creation? So up to there and up to that only your sequence numbers are generated. And once it was reached to your maximum value, then your sequence will be stopped. So it doesn't go to generate your next sequence number. Okay, now. So this is start with min value, increment, and max value. Okay, now. And the next parameter here, upload in my syntax, no cycle and cycle. So no cycle and cycle. So what is no cycle? Come out and see. Suppose when I'm going to create it, okay. So no cycle means no cycle parameter is called as it is a default parameter of sequence. Okay, na? Default parameter of sequence. So suppose when we created, guys, here, when we created a sequence object, with with no cycle, with no cycle, then what it was happen, guys, here? So what it was happen, guys, here? So once it was reaching your sequence number to your maximum value, once it was reaching your sequence number to the maximum value, then your one cycle is completed. Okay, then it will be treated one cycle, and that one cycle is complete, but the next cycle or next number is not generating. Okay, now point understand now. Suppose if I was given like this, if I was given like this, suppose I'm creating my sequence, I'm creating my sequence. Okay, so your maximum 3 I will. So in this sequence, I'm not using cycle. So that means I'm not using cycle means by default what now? No cycle. I'm not using cycle means by default what now? No cycle. Okay. So once I will be created like this, what happened guys here? Yes, your sequence numbers are generated 1, 2, and 3. That's it. So once it was reaching to your 3 number, that means maximum value, then your server treated as a one cycle completed. One cycle is completed. Okay, this is called a set of sequence numbers. 1, 2, 3. Whatever you given, your start with value. Whatever you given, your maximum value. Okay, now. So once it was reaching to your maximum value, then one cycle successfully completed. So after one cycle, okay, is successfully completed, and later it doesn't go to start. That means it's never started again numbers. So there itself, your sequence will be stopped. There itself, your sequence will be stopped. Okay, now. So that is no cycle parameter. For example, if I want to create, the next one is called as next one is what now? Cycle. Suppose if I want to create that. Okay, so when I'm creating my sequence object with cycle option. Okay, so when we created sequence object with cycle option, what it was happening guys here? Okay, then the set of sequence numbers, the set of sequence numbers are repeated. Okay, are repeating again and again, again and again. Okay, again and again. So once it was reaching to your maximum value, okay, but still those set of sequence numbers, whatever it was there, it will be repeating one again and again, like 1, 2, 3. So 3 is a maximum value, right? So your cycle is completed. Again, next cycle is started 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So like your sequences will be start. That is called a cycle. So for example, now I'm passing maximum value 3, but now I'm going to adding here cycle. When I'm adding cycle, what it was happen guys here? So start with value, min value, increment, and max. So 1, 2, 3, max value reached. Once it is reaching maximum value, then it was treated as a one cycle is completed. Okay, but when I'm using cycle, okay, parameter, what is the advantage for me? Then again it will be started. Okay, again some second new cycle. What was the second new cycle started? Again 1. So 1, 2, 3. So again one cycle is completed. Again one cycle is completed, right? Again it will be started. Again 1, 2, 3. Okay, again one cycle is completed. Again one cycle is completed. Again started 1. Okay, 1, 2, and so like this. Okay, like this. It will be continue. So the same set of sequence numbers. Here same. See 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So same set of sequence numbers. Same set of sequence numbers will be repeated here. Okay, so with the help of which property here, which parameter here? Cycle parameter. So with the help of cycle parameter, advantage is what now? The same set of sequence numbers. Do you want to repeat again and again? So there you can use a cycle. So when I'm using cycle, this will be happening as here. Okay, once it was reaching to your maximum value, again it will be started your new cycle from again 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Okay, now this is what. And the next one is called as a cache and no cache. The next parameters are what now? Next parameters are what now? No cache and cache. So what is cache and no cache? And these cache memories when the user is created. Okay, when the user is created, this cache memory. Okay, so that we will see in tomorrow's session, guys. Here, so tomorrow I will explain here what is cache and what is no cache. And cache, when we want to create, if I created cache, what is the advantage for us? What is the advantage for us? Okay, now if I'm not creating cache, what is the disadvantage for us? Okay, that we will check in tomorrow's session. Understand all of you now? Right, guys. So I stop it. Thank you so much, and we'll continue tomorrow.